Hello, this is Matt Cockerham with RE/MAX 100, and today we are going to take a look at the NVAR rental application and go through it just point by point to make sure that you are clear on how to fill this thing out properly. Now, why, you might ask, would I make a video on how to fill out a rental application? Seems like it's pretty straightforward. Well, I will tell you, I have seen lots of different rental applications over the years. Some filled out beautifully and some are an absolute nightmare, and some are somewhere in between. And the ones that are the nightmare, the ones that are in between, actually can cause problems. And I've seen tenants lose properties as a result of an improperly filled out application. Now, they might not lose the application or the property as a result of the application, but maybe another set of applicants comes in, or maybe there's some confusion, or they're just not able to process it quickly, and so the application doesn't get processed on their timeline, or whatever the case may be. But the strategy for you as a tenant is to make the listing agent, the property management company, and the landlord job as easy as possible so that you have the highest chance possible of getting the rental unit that you want. And so today we're going to look at that rental application and be sure that you fill it out perfectly so you dramatically increase your chances of getting accepted and getting into a great rental home. Okay? All right, so let's get into the rental application. So up here on the screen, I've got a copy of the rental application. There are 4 pages. That is page 1, and then you're going to go down through page 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to just go point by point. So let me zoom in a little bit here, make it just a little bit easier to look at. So what I've done is in some of the blanks here, I've filled out what you would put in there. So in this top blank where it says brokerage disclosure, there's going to very likely to be a real estate company representing the landlord, and that is the name that goes there. So whatever the real estate company is or whomever they are, you put them in there. You can write the agent's name in there as well if you like. That's not critical, but since we're going for a very nice, neat application, the company name and the agent's name is really the best way to go. Not critical, but just good. If you have an agent that's representing you, that's been working with you to help you find these rental properties, that next line is for their company's name and that agent's name, and you can put right there that they represent the tenant. If you happen to go through with the listing agent, you can put their name in both of those lines and add the word that the landlord, they represent the landlord. So you can actually ask the listing agent or ask whichever agent is helping facilitate you filling this out what to put in there if you like. And then you're just going to initial here that you acknowledge who is representing who. Pretty straightforward. All right. Scrolling down here, applicant identification type and expiration date. So you can use a driver's license, a passport, a military ID, whatever it is, and you just want to provide photocopies. Most likely you're going to drop this application off and then somebody is going to be processing it. You may or may not see the person who's processing it, so best to just include as a part of your complete rental application package photocopies of your ID. Here, applicant number 1 and applicant number 2, you're going to put your name there. Pretty straightforward. The thing I would tell you is to put your middle initial there or your middle name. Later on down in the application, we're going to put your name again. That's another opportunity. Be sure those are uniform, but include your middle initial. And if you're a junior or a senior, when we pull your credit, that's when that information is really, really critical, and not putting it there can cause a delay. The next line is the address that you're applying for. And then following that, you're going to put in how many years or months you want to rent the property for. In some of our other videos, we talk about the strategy on whether to, or what to put here as a strategy to increase your chances of getting a property. So if you're curious, look up our tenant secret videos and talk a little bit more about that. But I would say that if you say 2 years, that you cross out the word month here. It's not critical. They're going to figure it out, but you're not going to try to rent a place for 2 months. But again, we're going for the perfect rental application. And then desired lease term, you're going to put the date that you'd like to move in here. If you're flexible, put right here in parentheses, hey, I'm flexible. I'm willing to have the conversation about the start date of this lease. That might mean the difference between you getting it and not getting it, just to give that flexibility there. And then the amount of monthly rent, very straightforward. There's going to be a processing fee, and you will have known this before you put the application in, and you just put that amount here. It's going to be anywhere very likely between $50 and $75. Most of them we see is around $50. Earnest money deposit. Sometimes you'll put this in, sometimes you won't, but you're going to check with the listing company on the amount. A lot of times it's 1 month's rent if they do have you put it in, and you will find out from them what the company or the person's name to whom you need to make that check out. So these are ones you're going to want to check with the listing company in order to make sure that your application is complete and perfect, and they will let you know how to fill that out and what to do there. Down here at the bottom of the application, applicant 1 and applicant 2, we are asking for your cell phone number, your home phone number, your work number, and your email. There may be things we need to clarify on this application. It is absolutely essential that we have a way to reach out to you and get that information as quickly as possible so it can be processed as quickly as possible. And when I say we, I'm kind of talking from a landlord's perspective, but if we happen to be representing you on the tenant side, the we is the processor, whoever that might be. All right, on to page 2. Applicants agree and understand that this application, each applicant and pet are subject to acceptance and approval by the landlord. That's easy and straightforward. We are obligated as the listing company to present all applications to the landlord until a lease is signed. That's why I'm telling you, get this thing processed as quickly and accepted quickly as possible so that nobody else can sneak in behind you and get the property. The landlord and listing broker may rescind acceptance and resume marketing the premises until a lease is signed. So once that lease is ready, do not dilly-dally in signing it, get it signed. They want proof of income, that's number 4. Number 5, this application has 4 pages, complete them fully. That's what we're talking about right now. Number 6, a draft of the proposed lease may be reviewed through the listing brokers. If you want to see a copy as this is being processed, just so you can familiarize yourself, it's a pretty thorough document. Not a bad idea to review a preview copy of it prior to them filling in the blank with all of your details. Applicants, number 7, applicants must present valid photo ID. Talked about that already. Applicant is responsible for obtaining property and liability insurance. Don't miss that. I actually had a property with a fire in it, and the tenants had insurance at one point, and they had let it lapse, and it actually cost them quite a bit of extra money to get some of their property, their stuff out of the house. No one was hurt in the fire, but it did end up costing them money because they let their renter's insurance lapse. So you are going to be required to get that. Any move-in fees and utility deposits are the responsibility of the applicant. We're just going over these because I think a lot of times people brush over them and they ask the questions later. Only the persons on the application are to live in the premises. Premises are not to be used for business, and you do not have any interest in the property until a lease is signed. So all that makes pretty straightforward sense. This gives permission for the Human Resources Department, prior landlords, current landlords to talk with the processor and give them any information. So we absolutely need to sign and date this box here in the middle of page 2. So on the application, it's going to be right there in the middle, right? Okay. Let's see, what else do we see here? Your name, again, include your middle name, include your middle initial, include any juniors, seniors, or thirds, whatever the case may be. I went in here and I filled out date of birth, and I put something different than 6/29/2021. It auto-filled that. What I would tell you here, and what I had put there as a note for you, is to be as neat as possible. Make sure that the dates are written in there very easy to understand. They have to put in the date when you pull someone's credit, and so we need to see that date very, very clear. Same thing with the social security number, current street, that's straightforward. Here with the landlord, management company, etc., be sure to include all the information. Include your landlord's phone number, the email for them, so it's easy to get a hold of them. That will delay your processing, and if we go back up to the top, delayed processing can mean somebody else comes in and gets the property out from under you. We do not want that. Even if you've been at your other address longer than 2 years, you still want to fill out this previous street address section. You just make this application as neat as possible and as complete as possible. And down here, be sure you include that landlord's information, prior landlord's information, so that they can get a hold of them if they decide to. Not a bad idea to give both your current landlord and your prior landlord and your human resources department or supervisor notice that they might be getting contacted, and to ask them to please respond as quickly as possible. Coming down here for employment, you want to just fill this out as completely as possible. That makes a lot of sense. And be sure to include that supervisor or human resources name there and a phone number there. Again, not a bad idea to give them a heads up that they might be getting a phone call. If you've got additional income, put your source here. If it's a part-time job, maybe it's alimony or child support, anything that you've got there, but you also do need to be willing and able to support and document that. Debts, they're going to find the debts when they pull your credits. You might as well list them here. Assets, while they ask for your assets here, you don't have to list every single thing that you have. They might ask for some supporting documentation if they need it, but if you're not comfortable listing all of your assets. You do not have to list them all here. Not a bad idea to do it. It makes your application seem stronger if it does put you in a stronger position. Some people are just a little bit leery of listing out everything that they own. And this one is the one spot on the application where I could say you could put something like request more data or request further information if necessary. And they could request it if they want it. Top of page 4, we are coming into the home stretch. Additional information. Do you plan to bring a waterbed? Are you thinking of smoking? Some premises are not going to let you smoke no matter what, but just go through and answer these questions honestly as you possibly can. Down here, number 11, how would you rate your credit? So if you don't know what your credit is, if you've got a vague idea, this is a great time to go into one of the free credit reporting sites, either Credit Karma or freecreditreport.com, and just pull a copy of your credit so you have a vague idea of what your credit score is going to be. I say vague because those sites will give you a score. It may or may not be the same score that the property management company sees. They rank them depending on why they're pulling them and who they're pulling them from. However, it's a nice indicator of very likely what they're going to get. It's at least a ballpark, right? You should have already discussed animals with the landlord or the property manager prior to making application and have a rough idea that they are willing to accept your pet. You want to list them here then. The vehicles here, a lot of times this is useful if there is a registration required, so you want to list the types of vehicles that you've got. And then other occupants of the premises. If you've got children or whoever is going to be living there with you, whatever the case is, list them here. You may be asked to have any children over the age of 18 that are going to be occupying the property, or anybody over the age of 18 that's going to be occupying the property, to fill out an application as well, and they might be included actually listed on the lease. That will be up to the listing company and the property manager. Designated contacts is really next of kin. You see that over here on the right. If there's ever an emergency in the property, they're going to reference back to this to contact anybody there. So you want to make sure that's as quickly as possible too. So that is the quick overview of the rental application. I will tell you where people get tripped up the most is they put incomplete information in, or they are messy with the way that they fill things out. And then the person processing has to track them down for the information. So don't let that be you. Fill this out as completely and neatly as possible, and you will be good to go. Provide all the documentation that supports what you've put in here. That will facilitate the processing and dramatically increase your chances of getting your property. Now, I sure hope that this information has been useful, and if it has, please like this video. Comment below if you've got a question if you want me to answer or you want me to make a video on. Share this video with someone if you think it might be useful to them, and subscribe to this channel. We put out tons of useful real estate information. And finally, if we can help serve you here in Northern Virginia, we would love to do that. You can call me or text me at the phone number listed on the screen, 703-587-4711, 703-587-4711. And if you are outside of this area, but you think you might like for us to help connect you with a qualified and excellent real estate representative, give us a shout as well, and we'll do our very best to connect you with someone that can help you out.